Hello everyone, welcome back to Brian's Mysteries and Adventures on Trail. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's video is really just so unbelievable. There's lots of twists and turns. I'm going to have a second video that's related to this one coming out in the next couple of days. So if you like this one, please stick around the next couple of days, check out that one. Today's video takes us all the way over to Southeast Australia in the state of Victoria. It is the second most populated area in Australia. It's roughly 91,760 square miles or 237,659 square kilometers. These cases all took place in Wonnangatta Valley, which is in and around the Alpine National Forest. These are all pictures from the area. It is an absolutely beautiful, breathtaking area. However, most of this land requires a lot of experience. Even the rugged, experienced bushwhackers from the land say that it takes one misstep and everything can go downhill. Now, this valley lies in between two popular ski resorts, Mount Buller and Mount Hotham. These are just some pictures of the area of Mount Buller. It's going to be important later. A lot of these cases took place in and around this area. It's very popular, obviously, in the wintertime for skiing because there's not much skiing available in Australia. This is the Hotham area. Based on my research and looking at the pictures, the whole area, both these areas, look absolutely beautiful. The first case that we're going to be talking about is a gentleman that was 39 years old when he disappeared. His name is Niels Becker. He disappeared in October of 2019. According to his friends and family, he was an experienced bushwalker and he spent months preparing for this 5 to 7 day hiking and camping trip in this beautiful valley. He had set out with plenty of food, all the proper gear. Before we get started on that, I just want to show you a map of the area and where all these cases took place. The one to the south near Melbourne. Then at the top you can see the cluster where the majority of these cases took place, all in this valley. This is a picture of Niels. He had been keeping in contact with his family throughout this camping and hiking trip. On October 24th of 2019, he left the Jameson Hut. Here is a map of where that upper Jameson Hut is located. Here is an actual picture of what the hut looked like then and still looks like today. There are huts all over this valley. They're actually really nice compared to our lean-tos here at the Appalachian Trail. This is a picture inside, just an open space. It's got a loft for more people to sleep. People familiar with the area say that sometimes you can arrive at the hut and it will be empty. Other times you can arrive and it'll look like this. Lots of hikers and hunters already there. After 2 days of very, very rugged hiking through very dense bush, he reached another hut, the Vallejo Ganter hut. Upon reaching the hut, he sent his family a message telling them that he had arrived. This is a picture of that hut. A little different, but still very cool. This is a picture looking from one direction. As you can see, it's pretty camouflaged from all the trees and bush. This is a picture from inside the hut, looking out east. As you can see, it's an absolutely beautiful view. Now, this next picture is a picture of the rugged terrain that he would be facing the next morning. Upon leaving this hut, he sent his family a message saying that he was heading back towards Mount Sterling to his vehicle. This is a map of where Mount Sterling is. This is a picture of the area where his car was parked and the trail leading up into the area. There is a small cabin and parking spaces. There's literature on various trails and ski resorts. This is a picture of where his car was parked at that time. Unfortunately, that text message that he sent his family was the last time any of his family or friends ever heard from him again. After his family failed to hear from him, they contacted the authorities. A team of 70 people was put together. They went out looking for him for a couple of days up through the weekend. The ground search was scaled up to a point, but then scaled back. They weren't having any luck. This is another picture of Niels. Sergeant Damian Keegan said authorities were, at the time, still appealing to the public for information, quote, saying that with any of these searches, we always strive to return the loved ones back to their families. At the time, he said that they were going to continue with a view that at some stage we'll find Niels, we'll be able to give the family some closure in some way. Senior Sergeant Keegan said police had a few theories about what happened to Mr. Becker. There were some very cold nights. They're not sure if Mr. Becker may have suffered from hypothermia. He may have had a fall of some kind. They also thought it was possible that he walked out of the search area. He was considered very strong and fit, very resilient. He had been on hikes like this many times. Victoria Senior Sergeant Damian Keegan said that the search area got up to 800 square miles, even went into New South Wales. Sadly, Mr. Becker remains missing to this day. The last confirmed sighting was by the mysterious button man who told police he saw the very well-equipped hiker in the area, which Mr. Becker hiked right past the button man's camp, which is in an area known as the Crossroads, where many bushwhackers and experienced hunters go to because it's one of the few places where you can get good reception. The button man is a roughly 74-year-old, very experienced bushman. He is very rugged. He earned this nickname from his habit of using deer antlers to make buttons and create his gauges in his ears. According to the dozens of campers and hunters that have run into the button man, they say that he approaches them in their campsites at night, just sits down at their campfire without being invited and starts talking about some bizarre tales. He's very eccentric, but he's never harmed anybody. He's never threatened anybody. He makes his own traps and spearheads, just like the native Aborigines. He is known to be in incredible shape. He can move through the most dense areas, the most difficult areas with ease. When he does encounter other hikers, campers, hunters, he generally just asks them what they're doing there and then moves about his way. He's known to build stone pyramids and put pebbles on the roads to see if people have passed by. One of the craziest stories I heard was about a wildlife photographer that spent days in and around the button man's camp taking pictures. When he got back to his hometown, he downloaded his photos and he noticed that there was one unexplained photo of him asleep inside his tent. To this day, he has no idea who took that photo, but he assumes it may have been the button man. He's known to go into the town of Mansfield to pick up supplies. I want to point out that in all of these cases, he's talked to the police. He's always been cooperative. They have always ruled him out as a suspect. He's just a gentleman living in the woods. It's what he likes to do. Yes, he has some eccentricities, but sadly, he's been butchered in the media over there. And I think there's even a movie being made about him that totally makes him out to be this monster. And like I said, he's never threatened anybody. He's never been convicted of any crime. He's always helped the police in any of these investigations. And like I said, he's never been considered a suspect. Niels Becker remains missing to this day. If you have any information, I'll have the phone numbers in the description that you can contact the Victoria Police Department. This next case is probably the most scary on the list. Carol Clay was 73 years old at the time. Russell Hill was 74 years old at the time. They were basically high school sweethearts. They had known each other since their youth, but they were both married to different people. This was sort of a secret trip that not even their closest friends knew about. This camping trip that they took to the same valley. This is a map of where they both lived in the Melbourne area, and this is a map of where they went missing in the Alpine National Park. They disappeared from their campsite on March 20th of 2020. They were camping in this area called Dry River Track, which is in the Wonnangatta Valley, right here. They were both very prominent members of their community. Russell was a former bush logger who knew the area very, very well. Carol Clay was once president of a women's association in Melbourne. Most of their close friends had no idea of this camping trip nor their affair. Their campsite was discovered by the Victoria Police and Search and Rescue Department. It was completely burnt to the ground. They initially thought the fire was due to a portable charger. that may have overheated while inside the tent and started the fire. He had brought a couple of portable chargers because he had a drone with him, plus their cell phones. Russell's four-wheel drive vehicle was also found at the scene with many of their possessions inside the vehicle, both Carol and Russell's things. Investigators and search and rescue teams initially feared that the pair may have become lost somewhere in the remote bushland, but they didn't rule out foul play. They also at the time didn't rule out that they intentionally vanished after finding some of the truths out about their relationship. Two major search operations involving drones, helicopters, mounted police, search dogs, various ground crews searched for weeks and came up with nothing. Friends of the pair came forward and said that, for one, Mr. Hill had been camping out there for years. He was an avid outdoorsman and says that he would never have ventured off the trail far. Friends of Carol said that Mr. Hill would have never put her in any harm's way. Sergeant Scott Wilkinson, who was the acting sergeant at the time, he was part of the main team looking for the couple. He said that the search became very extensive, but ultimately led them to no clues. After they went missing, there were no checks cashed from either of their bank accounts, none of their credit cards were used, no money was taken out or moved around. As far as the public knew, and the search and rescue, also the majority of the police, they thought that they had just perished out there in the wilderness, something had happened, maybe a medical episode. This is because a lot of information was suppressed from the media. That was until November of 2021, when remains were found in the bushland area of the Grant Historic Area, with this map right here. These are pictures of when the authorities were first getting there and roping off the area. These are pictures of the actual forensic investigators going out, recovering the remains. We now know that as of July of 2020, investigators already had a suspect, a prime suspect that they were gathering evidence on, a man by the name of Gregory Lynn, pictured up there in the right. They impounded his vehicle in the middle there. They noticed right away that the Nissan Patrol had been painted since his trip to Mount Hotham. During their initial conversation with Gregory Lynn, they recorded that conversation. That conversation has been suppressed from the media. The police eventually brought him down to the Sal police station in Victoria. The lead detective in this case is a man by the name of Brett Florence, pictured here. They started investigating. They questioned him for over 4 days during the initial interview. Meanwhile, the other investigators were out gathering various evidence and clues. Gregory Lynn is a former Jetstar pilot. He's very wealthy. He owns an estate worth over $1 million. He has a family, he has kids, so they weren't sure of the motive at first. It wasn't until 2022 that the DNA actually linked the remains that were found to Russell and Carol. The whole time the police were building a case against Gregory Lynn, they were able to obtain warrants to place phone taps and bugs within his house, they recorded over 5,000 various conversations, including conversations that he apparently had with himself, where he was talking about the murders. Apparently, he was also crying. The police became aware through these wiretaps that he may have had a plan to self-harm, so they formulated their own plan to arrest him. At this point, they had obtained much more evidence, photos from the Mount Hotham trail cams. They spoke to one witness that was in the area spraying for blackberries at the time when the couple went missing. They made numerous trips to their campsite collecting various pieces of evidence. The Victoria Police arrested him in late November of 2021 in Arbuckle Junction. It is a little bit southeast of Mount Buller, but in the general area where these past 3 disappearances took place and the ones upcoming took place. Based on the police's theory, they believe that he went back to the crime scene between May and November of 2020, where he further tampered with it, burning things, dispersing, and partially destroying various evidence. The police believe that on the evening that Carol and Russell disappeared, they got into an argument with Mr. Lynn over them using their drone. There was an altercation, apparently a fight. There was a tussle for the gun. The gun went off, killing Carol. Then they fought more for the gun. Eventually, they believe Gregory killed Russell, then attempted to destroy the crime scene by burning it. The drone in question has never been recovered. The trailer that he had attached to his vehicle, he sold right after this incident occurred. That trailer has never been recovered. This is the latest picture of Gregory Lynn being led into court. He's been in jail ever since his arrest. The trial's supposed to happen sometime this year. Innocent until proven guilty, so we'll see what happens in the trial, but hopefully one way or another they'll find out. Now we are going to be talking about the disappearance of David Prideaux. He was 50 years old at the time of his disappearance. He was the Barwon prison governor, which is a maximum security prison in Australia, one of the most dangerous prisons in Australia. David was highly intelligent, articulate. He was a passionate bush hunter and hiker. On June 5th of 2011, he went deer hunting with his brother-in-law, Mr. Dale, in the Alpine National Park. They set off from this hut, the Tomahawk Hut, at roughly 7:45 in the morning. He signed the guest book saying, "Thanks to Vic's Huts, cheers." Upon leaving the cabin, they set out into this area. They separated and planned to circle the same mountain in opposite directions, then meet back up at the same hut for lunch. David Prideaux was carrying a brand new rifle. He was wearing camo gear with an orange beanie. He had binoculars, a rucksack full of food and water, a UHF radio, a compass, a GPS device, a space blanket. He did, however, leave his cell phone in his Land Cruiser at the hut because there was no reception in that area anyway. When David didn't return for lunch as planned, Mr. Dale went out to look for him, but by 9 p.m. he was unable to find him. He contacted the police when he was finally able to find an area to get reception. More than 100 police, search and rescue officers, emergency service, and volunteers from the Bush Search and Rescue all came out to help look for him. 2 helicopters with thermal imaging technology were flown in and around the area. They brought in people on horseback, trail bikes, and 4-wheel drive vehicles. Then roughly 50 family and friends came up from Melbourne to help with the search and rescue. Police actually didn't get around to formally interviewing Mr. Dale until later in the week. He was cleared and the search went on, but things just got very bizarre. After a few weeks of searching, all these crazy theories came about that there was some kind of conspiracy to have him killed because of something he did in the prison, something that happened in the prison. Theories that he was having an affair, that he had run off with some woman. They went back to the hut. They broke into his vehicle to search his belongings because there was a rumor saying that he had all these confidential files that he was holding against certain people of authority. People claiming that they saw him in Broome, Australia, all the way on the other side of the country. Then people saying that they saw him driving in East Melbourne. The search ended, but then started up again in October of that year, searching another 50 kilometers. Rescuers said the vegetation was so dense where David went missing that the rescuers were walking meters apart and were invisible to each other. The family dismissed all the outrageous claims and believes that he most likely died from some kind of accident or medical crisis. To date, he has never been found. His rifle, none of his clothing, nothing has ever been found. In July of 2014, Deputy State Coroner Ian West declared David Prideaux officially dead. Mr. West said that he was satisfied there was no credible evidence to suggest David was still alive or had been murdered. His family believes that he died from some kind of quick accident or medical event, but they were sad when the coroner had him declared dead because they knew this meant there would be no further searches. Next, we are going to be talking about the disappearance of Conrad Whitlock, who inexplicably drove his car into the high country in July of 2019. He was 72 years old at the time. The last time his wife saw him was the night before. When he didn't show up for work the next day, the authorities became involved. They found his white BMW on the side of Mount Beulah Road, along with his jacket, mobile phone, and keys were all inside the vehicle. Inspector David Brown said the officers tried starting the car. It worked fine. They couldn't figure out why he would have left the vehicle. The only thought was that he possibly may have stopped to go to the bathroom. possibly thinking it would just be a quick stop, therefore not taking his keys or jacket. The police searched everywhere in and around that area. They never found him. He remains missing to this day, and it's like he just disappeared into thin air. The last disappearance we're going to be talking about is Warren Meyer, who was 57 years old at the time. He disappeared on March 23rd, 2008 from the Dom Dom Saddle picnic area. This is a picture of him. He was an experienced bushwalker. He was only supposed to go out for a 4-hour walk on this Easter Sunday. It was a very easy walk. He had done it before. The weather was beautiful. He was equipped with a phone, a GPS device, plenty of food and water. He set out around 7:45 a.m. that morning and had arranged to meet his wife and some friends for lunch back at the picnic area. He failed to show up. His car was found parked and locked in the Dom Dom Saddle Car Park later that afternoon. Warren was a very successful civil engineer who was about to retire. There was no reason for him to just purposely disappear. Despite a massive search, investigation by local police, the missing persons unit, and the homicide squad, no trace of him has ever been found. His disappearance generated a lot of attention both from the media and the locals. Despite that, his case eventually went cold. Then in December of 2017, Coroner Olay concluded that Mr. Myers had died of unknown causes and that no further investigation was required. This was devastating to his family and friends because he's still missing to this day. I want to dedicate this video to Niels, Becker, Carol and Russell, David Prideaux, Conrad Whitlock, and Warren Meyer. My thoughts and prayers go out to all of you, your friends, your family, your loved ones. My thoughts and prayers go out to all the authorities, the search and rescue, all the volunteers who worked on all these cases. I hope and pray that all these families will get closure and find peace with what happened. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support and feedback. Special thank you to co.ag for providing the background music. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with me to the end. I really appreciate it. Please leave me your thoughts and feedback in the comment section. If you are in Australia and know about any of these cases, I'd love to hear your thoughts or how it was portrayed in the media in that area. As I stated in the beginning of this video, I am working on another video that is very similar to these cases in many ways. Please stick around for that. It should be posting in the next couple of days. As always, I will have all my photo credits and sources in the description. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's free and really helps the channel. Thank you for all your support and comments. See you next time.